Alice Stewart Show is on the air and on your radio right now. Here's more from Alice on 96.5 The Voice.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:45, and make sure you tune in tomorrow morning right here on 96.5. We will be broadcasting the Arkansas Federation of Young Republicans debate. All the candidates most of the candidates running in various races will be debating the issues. That goes for those running for governor. We have Asa Hutchinson as well as Conrad Reynolds. In the 2nd Congressional District, Ann Clemmer, French Hill, and Colonel Conrad Reynolds will be debating. In the 4th Congressional District, Bruce Westerman and Tommy Mull will be debating. And also those racing in the Attorney General's race. All have been invited, but those who have accepted the invitation for the debate, Leslie Rutledge and Patricia Nation, will be there. And Leslie Rutledge joins us in studio this morning. Leslie, good morning.
Good morning, Alice, and happy Good Friday to you.
Happy Good Friday. It's going to be a nice weekend. Well, let's hope the weather holds off. It'll be a nice weekend for folks to get out and celebrate the holiday with their family. And also, it'll be a great weekend for folks to come out and watch the debate.
Absolutely. If it turns out that it's raining and you can't be out there enjoying Saturday with your kids, then either come to the debate there at the Clarion in Little Rock or watch it online.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to remind folks that this has been a big week for the campaigns and the candidates. Last week we had a lot of polling numbers in the various races. This week was the first quarter filing deadline, and releasing what folks have raised. And you had some good numbers. You've raised over $200,000.
Yes, that's something that we're very pleased with on the campaign. It shows the strength of the campaign, that people are coming out in a primary year where there's so much activity, and the contributors in Arkansas are tapped, that I am, by far exceeding the other two Republican candidates in the race. And so that means that we'll be able to, go the distance, throughout the, next 34 days of the primary, be able to get our message of conservative values, our message of fighting back against an overreaching federal government, to the people, because there's, we're expecting great numbers in the Republican primary, probably the highest Republican primary voters ever in the history.
Absolutely. And there's some, as you go around the state, you're traveling the state, clearly that's one key component of this is a statewide race. You hit every town in this state. What are people talking about? I mean, clearly Obamacare is a big issue for many people. As Attorney General, it is something that would be on your radar. The Attorney General has had the opportunity to weigh in and stand firm on the constitutionality of this. Our current Attorney General did not do that. But what are you hearing from people?
The overreaching federal government is by far the issue that people are talking about. Obamacare has frustrated, it has affected families negatively. And you also, parts of that, it's not just about Obamacare. It's the EPA and our farmers and business owners in Arkansas. It's Dodd-Frank with our bankers and, those of us who use banks. And, most recently we've seen this overreaching federal government impeding our religious freedoms with the Hobby Lobby case. And Arkansas really needs an attorney general with the experience of fighting this federal government to stand up for our citizens. Alice, I don't know if you know this. I believe that you do. That I was counsel of the Republican National Committee for 3 years, and in that role, I sat with the country's top conservative lawyers and developed legal strategy to combat this overreaching federal government. And that's what I want to keep doing as Attorney General of Arkansas.
And that's important, given that federal government overreach is a key factor. The role of the Attorney General is to be the state's top legal officer and defend the state on many issues. But having the experience in Washington at the RNC, how would that help you as Attorney General? Sure.
I think, just having, understanding being inside the belly of the beast, if you will, that, what it takes to fight against this federal government, that you can't just say that, you want to do something. It's important, especially as a lawyer, that you have the how-to. And I'm the only person in this race that has the how-to of fighting against this federal government. When it comes down to, pushing back against this overreach, you want a lawyer at the table that knows what they're doing. I tell people every day out on the trail, lawyers are no different than doctors, and you're not going to hire your podiatrist to perform open heart surgery. So I'm the only attorney in this race that has the experience combating this overreaching federal government.
I want to talk about a couple of the issues that are making headlines lately and a topic of conversation with the Attorney General's race. One being the death penalty, and haven't had an execution in the state of Arkansas since 2005. I was there when that happened with Governor Huckabee. It's a difficult decision for a judge and jury, and certainly as a governor in a state to follow through with that. That being said, there's a current snag in that, given that the drug used to make executions happen here, it's a limited supply, difficult to get, and our current Attorney General has basically said if we're not able to get the drugs for them to be executed safely in a humane fashion, then we're not going to do it. Where do you stand on that?
Alice, I've been a prosecutor, and so I have dealt with some of the worst criminals. I have looked evil in the eye. I am for the death penalty, but we need to make sure it's carried out because we want to give the families of the victims closure. We need to carry out the sentences of the jury, but we do have a method on the books, and that's using these drugs that are not available, and so that's part of it is going to the FDA and making sure that we have the drugs available in the state to carry out these executions. Recently, one of my opponents has, started talking about is using what I believe is just irresponsible rhetoric and talking about bringing back the electric chair. Well, we haven't used the electric chair in Arkansas since, I believe 1990. It's in a museum, and I think, to use something, as irresponsible rhetoric to try to gain votes in a very serious conversation, it undermines the being able to use the death penalty as a deterrent to these criminals. And I think that's why it's important that you have an attorney general who has been a prosecutor, understands the role, who's worked in government, and will not just say things to try to garner votes, quite honestly.
Right. So on this issue, what would you do as attorney general? We understand what the current attorney general has done. What would you do?
I would work with, the FDA and make sure that we have if it's pentobarbital, make sure that we have those drugs available in the state, see what other states are doing, that it's not just a matter of, we can't get them, so therefore we must go to an old antiquated method. Quite honestly, it would take longer to, use that, and the challenges would take longer than it would to have these drugs available. So trying to, make sure that the drug companies, if it means that they cannot be FOI'd if they provide those drugs to the state to be used in executions, then that's what we need to work toward, is making sure that we have the drugs available.
Another big issue that has been discussed lately deals with the life issue, and the ACLU has recently filed a lawsuit fighting the constitutionality of the 12-week abortion ban. The legislature made tremendous progress on the life issue during this last session. And as expected, the critics of it said, well, it's unconstitutional. And as predicted, now that it's law, ACLU has stepped in and fighting the constitutionality of it. Attorney General McDaniel, as it stands now, is at least weighing carefully, making sure the constitutionality is addressed. Where do you stand on that?
Alice, I am 100% pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception. For me, if this case is still ongoing, I am glad that we are, taking this case and appealing it. And if it is still ongoing, I will, wholeheartedly argue this case, through the 8th Circuit and up to this United States Supreme Court. Because life does begin at conception. It's our most precious resource. And as Attorney General, it would be my honor to stand before the Supreme Court again. I have been admitted to practice before the Supreme Court of the United States, and it would be an honor for me to defend those pro-life statutes that our legislature passed.
And Leslie Rutledge, my guest, we have 1 minute left. You've got a debate tomorrow, an opportunity to show compare and contrast you and the issues with, tomorrow will just be with Patricia Nation, so it will be the two of you. How are you going to convey to the audience tomorrow how you separate and you're different than Patricia Nation?
Sure, I think it's different than Patricia Nation and the other individual in this debate, or rather in this race, that I have the experience. I have been a prosecutor. I have, dealt with criminals. That's part of the role of the Attorney General. I have worked for Governor Mike Huckabee as counsel, so working with all state agencies, and I have the experience of fighting against this overreaching federal government. And Arkansans need someone with their views and values. You can look at everybody I've worked for. You don't have to wonder who Leslie Rutledge is. You can look at who I am based on, who I've worked for, what I've done. I've always been working on behalf of the citizens of Arkansas.
All right, Leslie Rutledge, Republican candidate for Attorney General. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Alice.
All right, we've got harder questions for you tomorrow, I promise.
Good.
They'll be very hard. And I encourage folks to tune in tomorrow, starting at 9 o'clock. Each of the debates, Governor, 2nd and 4th Congressional, as well as the Attorney General, broadcasted live right here on 96.5. Make sure you tune in. You can also listen online if you're going to be traveling or folks across the state at 965 The Voice or Young Republican Debate. I'll be moderating as well as David Goins from KERK. So tune in tomorrow for the Young Republican 2014 primary debate. Have a great, great holiday weekend with your friends and family. Have a great day. We'll look forward to talking with you on Monday. Glenn Beck is on deck. Have a great day.
Alice Stewart Show on 96.5 The Voice.
I don't have to be till Monday.